So our next lesson we're going to be learning about is comparing decimals. I'm going to have to warn you that you're going to have to ignore any crazy noises you might hear in this video because I'm doing it in my hotel room here with the kids. So there you go. You got a little sneak peek. So make sure you're paying attention throughout. The good news is on a video you can pause if you need to and then resume later. So you're going to need your math journals and your fat, colorful math books with a pencil to complete this lesson. So let's get started. Okay, so the next lesson is comparing decimals. That'll be NF, that stands for numbers and fractions, 3-7. Just like when we did with whole numbers, comparing decimals is all about place value. So you're going to first step, and at any time if you need to, if I'm going too fast for you, you need more time to write it down, feel free to pause it. First step that you're going to do always is start comparing in the wholes. Because remember, the point of the decimal is to separate wholes from not wholes. So we're going to start in our wholes. But we have 0, 0. So that is equal. If it's equal, you're going to move over to the next place value, which is the tenths. So step 2, move to compare
Selena?
tenths. Pause it, Mom.
How do I pause? All right.
Yeah, pause it. Remember that hundredths, tenths, because it's less than one whole. So you're going to move to the hundredths place to compare. And by then you could usually make a good estimate if it's less than, greater than, or equal if they're all the same. But one thing you definitely need to remember, always, 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 keep in mind those pictures, and I'll show you an example in just a moment, of the hundredths and tenths grids. Remember, tenths are full bars and hundredths are those small squares. So keep that in mind and the back of your head. Full bars are most of the time greater than small squares. So again, if you are behind at this moment, take this time to catch up, pause. If not, we're going to go ahead, take out our fat, colorful math books, open up to page 369 for your next example. Okay, so now we're on page 369. Here's a couple more examples. So I'm going to skip over this because you're just learning this. We're not going to worry about word problems at the moment. So we're going to use this model. So we're comparing 18 hundredths, notice this is cut into the hundredths, and 2 tenths. Here we are, the full bars. So we're going to shade in 1 full bar for the tenth and 8 small squares to make 18 hundredths total. So on this first one, color in the full bar, and then 8 small squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I come over here, these are tenths, and it's telling me I have 2, so I'm going to shade in 2 full bars. Again, if at any point during this time I'm going too fast for you, the great thing about a video is you can pause me. to catch up. So we have 2 full bars. Now remember, when I go to compare, I'm going to first compare my holes. Well, for 1800ths, I have 0 holes. 2/10ths, I have 0 holes. So I'm going to move over to my next place value, which is the tenths. And over here, I have 1/10. I have 1 full bar. Over here, I have 2/10ths, 2 full bars. Well, those are not equal. So I'm comparing in the tenths place. So circle that place value. I'm not even concerned about this 8. Well, 2/10ths is greater than 1/10. So alligator always eats the bigger fish. I'm going to put my alligator mouth in there. And there you have it. Now the next part I have down here is a number line. So remember, you need to keep in mind that this is not 18 and 2. Remember those place values, not 18 and 2. If you're really looking at it that way, you got to put the 0 here and make it even so you're in hundredths. 18, 20. So in this case, we're looking at a number line. Now remember, a number line, this is in hundredths. I have my tenths, 2/10ths, 3/10ths, 4/10ths, 5/10ths. Therefore, in between are my hundredths. This was on the test that you took Friday. So if I want 18/10ths, I'm going to jump over to the 10. I'm not going to go to the 20 because I'm not quite there if it's 18. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 1800ths. But then I'm also looking at 2/10ths. So I'm going to come over. Well, I can actually get right even with that. I have 10. Remember, that's equal to 20 hundredths. So this one we're saying, well, which one's closer to 0? So coming this way, well, that's the 1800ths. So we're looking for what's closest to 0. Well, 1800ths. So we're going to say 1800ths is closer to 0. So 1800ths is less than, use those 4th grade words, 2/10ths. And it says compare equal sized parts. 1800ths is 1800ths. And 2/10ths. So really you're looking here, how many hundredths is that? Well, that's 20 hundredths. Therefore, 1800ths is less than 20 hundredths. So 1800ths, it sounds repetitive here, is less than 2/10ths. So more of the park, going back up to this question, is covered by paved walkways, which we didn't go through. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the page. So now over here on page 370, we're looking at the example. Tim has 5/10ths dollar and Sienna has 5/100ths dollar. Who has more money? So think of this kind of a sense. So here's Tim. His is in the tenths place, so we have tenths bars. And he has 5/10ths, so we're going to shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now Sienna has no tenths because you can see in the tenths place, the one right after the decimal, there's 0. That means I'm not going to shade in any full bars. But he has 5, that's in the tenths hundredths place. So I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 small squares. Now it should be pretty obvious what's what. So by this model, you can obviously tell, well, Tim has way more shaded in than Sienna. So Tim has more money. But then when we come over here, basically what they want you to do is line it up and look. So we have Tim here. So we have Tim, no holes, and decimal, 5/10. And remember, you can go ahead and put in a 0 for the hundredths if you need to. And then again, now Sienna has 0 holes and no tenths and 5/100ths. So therefore 5/10 and 0/10, so 5/10 is greater than 5/100. So looking at the next one, it says compare the size of 1/10 to the size of 1/100. How could this help you compare 5/10 and 5/100? So I'm going to go ahead and do this on your own. And remember, when you think of tenths, and when you do this explanation, I want you to tell me about full bars versus when you think of 100th, I want you to think of, remember, 100th is small squares. So go ahead, take the time, pause here, and fill that one out. And then we'll be right back to share that one. Okay, so here is my answer. You should have paused and done your own, but this is what I came up with. And I put 1/10 is 1 full bar. So using those words, therefore 5/10, and I put it in parentheses, 5/10, is 5 full bars. Whereas 100 is small squares. So 5/100, and I put it in parentheses, is 5 small squares. 5 full bars is more than 5 small squares. So last example I will do with you, and then we'll go over your assignment, and the substitute can check for you, is to compare, now we have 1 3/10 and 6/10. And we're going to use our comparison symbols. So it says first to shade the model, 1 3/10. Well, these are, of course, our holes. So we have 1 full hole. That means I'm going to shade in this whole box. And then I have 3/10. So tenths are full bars. I know it's a tenths because it's the first place value after the decimal. Okay. Then we come over here, shade to model, no holes and 6/10. So no holes. I could either shade in the 6/10 here, but I'm just going to leave it blank so it kind of follows this model. And then 6/10. So it's in the tenths place. Those are full bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So kind of here to compare. Remember, always start in your holes. So here I have 1 hole. Here I have 0 holes. It's not equal, therefore I can right here compare. And you can clearly see over here we have 1 hole. This is blank. So right away, 1 hole is greater than 0 holes. Okay, boys and girls, so what I'm going to have you do now is you're going to work over on the next page. This is page 371. I want you to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you're going to do 1 through 13 on page 371. When you're done with that, raise your hand. The substitute will come and check all of them for you. And then when you get down to the HOTS question, you can resume this video and I'll give you an example for that one. Okay, so if you're at this point in the video, that means you have completed all the notes, you've done the examples, and you finished 1 through 13 and had the substitute check. So now you're on to the HOTS problem. I just wanted to go over this really quickly so you fully understand. It's kind of hard to compare something like this as it is. We have decimals and fractions. So what we're going to do is change, you can either change the decimal into a fraction, or you could change the fraction into a decimal. So what I like to do is I like to take the decimal and change it. I feel like it's a bit easier, but feel free, you could do it the other way as well. So if I'm looking over here at this one, well, this is going into the hundredths place. So I'm going to put a denominator of 100. And then I look and I see, okay, I have 30. So 31 hundredths. You can't really do these until you change them. Well, this might be 31 hundredths, but this is 3 tenths. Well, remember, I can go ahead and compare these evenly, change that to 100. But if I put one down here, I got to put one up here. So these are the same, therefore this would be equal. Now I want to jump over here real fast to 17. This one's a bit of a strange one. But again, take this decimal, change it. So this is the first place value after the decimal. So that's tenths. How many tenths do I have? 8. So what you're really looking at is 1/8 and 8 tenths. Now, if you're really super duper struggling, cross multiply. 1 times 10, 10, 8 times 8. Well, I'll let you figure that out and finish that one. All right, so you're gonna go ahead and finish the last 2 HOTS questions and then flip over and you're going to complete page 372. And we'll work on this more tomorrow. I'll see you guys then.